Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. There has been a lot of talk about artificial intelligence, AI. A lot of people use ChatGPT to write things. Can you use AI for architecture, interior design? And what does that look like? We're going to find out. We're going to dig deep into that today, starting with the CEO and lead designer of GOGO Design Group, Rebecca Pogonitz, is back with us. Welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. It's always fun to be here.
I always learn so much. And I truly believe I was an interior designer in another life, because this stuff,
like it.
it fascinates me. It's like it never gets old. I could look at projects all day long, pictures of, photos of, befores and after. Tell us who your guest is today, Rebecca.
Today, my guest is my friend Mark Benner, who is an architect that I've collaborated with. And Mark has always been on the cusp of technology in the design build industry. And I mean, when I first met him 10 years ago, he was doing what no one else is doing. And now he's talking at events, and he's educating all of us about how he is incorporating artificial intelligence into his work. I can't wait to work on a project with him so we can do this together. And yeah, I won't take up too much time because there's just a lot to cover. So,
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Good morning. Doing well, Steve.
I want to ask first off, Rebecca, how does AI fit into the design and build industry?
okay, so I haven't incorporated it yet because I don't have a fear of technology anymore, but I haven't jumped into it. But there's so many things we can do. We can blog, we can create images, we can create mood boards. There's some debate about that, like when does the designer come in? I'm sure Mark will address that. We can create inspiration for a project that Mark is going to show us, a project of his. It streamlines our businesses. And I also need to learn so much more from Mark, because it's a little scary to me. I got to admit, it's a little creepy. 10 years ago, they were talking about robots being on job sites doing the work. That freaked me out. You know, it's kind of like a sci-fi film that I don't enjoy watching, anything stressful. So anyway, but Mark diffuses all of that, and with his passion, he makes it really fun and exciting.
Do you think, Rebecca, because you want to put you into it, your talent, your love, the design goes into it. Does it feel like you almost don't want to give up that control, that personalized touch, that attention to everything to a robot?
Yeah, well, we always are going to need the human touch, right? Just to tweak things. I think AI, and in terms of the mood boards, I need to learn more because I create them myself on my own digitally, but it's easy access to jumpstart things and help us communicate with our clients. So I'm always going, and designers and architects, builders are always going to have their finger on the pulse of the actual intellectual property of the project, so to speak. I'm gonna look at it as a positive in our industry, just because Mark is growing his business in leaps and bounds with it. So I think with any technology in our lives, if we can overcome the fear of embracing it and learning about it and getting passionate about it, even though technology has a lot of faults and is tearing our world apart right now, it can really enhance our lives. And especially, I can say, in the design build industry.
So we're going to look at that in just a moment and dig deeper into the architectural side with Mark. But I want to share this. This is literally out today, and it's a survey and analysis. 37% of all ChatGPT answers, when we're talking AI, so, ChatGPT part of it, the answers were graded untrustworthy by verified human experts, including doctors, lawyers, vets,
Hmm.
and other leaders in their field. So that's 37%. I'm not taking any sides here. I'm just sharing what just came out, like literally this morning. 42% of the Chat GPT answers they reviewed are missing crucial details. 14% are misleading. 4% give dangerous information. Like, for example, yeah, a doctor was reviewing a response and it turns out that the information was potentially life-threatening.
Mhm.
So that's just, some things that are coming out. Here's an interesting one, and then we'll move past this. A
Mhm.
photographer turned the tables on AI generated images in a photography competition by sneaking his own human made images into the competition. He won third place. And then, of course, when he revealed, all right, I took the picture, it's real, he got disqualified. I guess he
Oh.
just did it for fun, but whatever.
Well, I think that, like for instance, writing a blog or writing an article, of course, we have to go in and edit it and make sure because it's a reflection on us, right?
Sure,
So it's not like we're just spitting things out. But I can see, yeah, I mean, I think everything always needs to be double checked
for
and
sure.
qualified.
So
Hmm.
I do marketing as well. And my web developer, one of them said to me the other day, we have to design a landing page. And he's like, hey, don't forget ChatGPT, get it going. I'm like, no, no, it's a great starting point, but you can spot the phony. That's my feeling, especially when it comes to writing. Mark, what's your overall in the architecture design aspect of all of this? What's your vibe on AI?
I've really struggled with it because I think AI does make it look just too easy. And so I've co-presented with other architects, and we had a very lively and active discussion about they were big proponents of providing AI imagery from the start, and so I was just kind of pushing them on that, and I said, don't your clients doesn't that devalue your work? You're coming up with something in just a few minutes. And he said, well, if I don't do it, somebody less talented and less qualified is going to do it.
Mm,
So it's just the tool that we're using. And I think there's a lot of merit to that viewpoint. Um, you can buy the best drawing tools in the world. Anybody has access to those, but it really does depend on who's running them, who's making them work. Um,
mm.
so
So, in that aspect, we have two things here. We have in your area and also for Rebecca's, the proposed view of what the project could look like, as opposed to in your world, Mark, the actual plans, those drawings. So would you allow AI to do both?
um, I'm still getting my comfort level with the final image being an AI generated image. Partial and part of that has to do with the copyright protection, who owns that image, and so images that come out of
Mm,
applications like Midjourney are generally owned by the technology. So you have to take them and advance them on your own to make them return them to your ownership, and it's still the Wild West out there in terms of
wow.
what's going to happen. So I'm leaning towards more focused technologies like stable diffusion, which are all Midjourney goes to the cloud to do all of its production work, and that makes it part of the kind of the fabric, the network of the world. Stable diffusion does all of that work locally on your own machine. So you train your own model, so it begins to show your style, because as you start to develop rendering styles that represent your image and your style, the engine starts to learn that, and it's all in house, so it doesn't get out to the cloud, and you maintain full ownership that way.
Hmm.
So the final drawing, the final plans that go to the builder, right? And there's very specific information there. Part of me thinks back to that story out today with the information given to doctors, and they're like, whoa, whoa, that's misleading and could potentially be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
When it's those final drawings, final plans, can AI do that? And how flawless could it or would it be?
It goes back again to that trust but verify. I think of AI as a really good intern, but I'm not
That's a
letting
great way to
anything.
that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not letting anything go out of the office that's straight, raw right out of the engine. But it does help me. It leverages my time and my expertise to
Hmm.
do a more comprehensive job faster.
Yeah.
And I still need to have the last eyes on it and make sure that it meets code requirements and doesn't tell
Yeah.
an accurate story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I could just imagine final plans get delivered. They're building the house. The header is, 3.7 inches short, and then we get a problem.
Right.
Right. And the bot,
Right.
but the bot said it was right. Uh, can you show us some examples of things that were generated through AI?
Sure, I got a few things here, and I use AI for multiple purposes, um, both production of architecture, but as well I do my marketing. I wouldn't do no marketing if I didn't use AI, just because I need to have enough time to do that. But these are a few images um, that I've been working with. Um, just to tell my story. So a lot of these were kind of email campaigns or social media posts. So I was doing a kind of an exploration of an interior and maybe doing some industrial flavor. So I was kind of pairing those two images together.
Hey, Mark, will
Yeah,
you blow those? Will you click on the ones you're speaking to,
yeah,
please?
sure. Here we go. Oh, no, that one's not that one's not nearly big enough. But for instance, that is an AI generated image. It's grungy, it's industrial. And that's really how I use AI. I'm looking for inspiration. I want to rapidly, so it's taking the place or working in concert with what I used to do to search for source images to give inspiration.
Hmm.
So rather than having a really good search capability, I'd rather come up with a custom image that tells the full story. It tells my story the way I want to tell it.
So with that, let's look at that image for a moment.
Mhm.
What program did you use to generate it, and what did you input? Steel beams, slightly rusty. Like, how did you come up with that?
Sure. So all of these images that I'm showing here are created through a software called Midjourney, which is one of the leading applications out there. And this is the result of and I forget what they call it, prompt. They call this prompt engineering. So the quality of your image really heavily depends on the prompt that you give it.
Hmm.
I don't have that prompt necessarily here, but I was looking for an industrial intersection of a steel connection with some welded and bolted details. Gave it some general, I could have told it, make it a painted or a some other finish, but I wanted to have kind of a raw industrial look. And so that's kind of what went into this one.
Hmm. Wow. Looks real.
Yeah, and they give, you get several different options, and it absolutely looks 100% real. And this really starts to tell the story of the texture and the flavor that this image is trying to convey. And then this was another one. This was kind of an example of how AI can go wrong. It's a very interesting structure. I don't know that anyone would ever want to build it, let alone live there, but
It looks kind of Gaudi-esque.
it has a lot Gaudi-esque, yes, definitely. Reminiscent. We did a trip to Barcelona, and this has a lot of similarities.
Minus the color.
Minus the color, exactly.
Crazy.
Yeah, but just looking for different phases of construction or design. So this one's intended to be a little architectural, kind of a blend between architecture and rendering, just to kind of convey that story that this is how architecture begins. We kind of start with either a wireframe or a shaded view, but quickly it can turn into this more refined rendering view. So this is trying to tell that progression, story of progression.
So Mark, is this an AI software program that one would need to invest in? This isn't something you can grab off the internet and just.
This is all on the internet, but you do have to. It's a service. Midjourney is a monthly subscription service offered through a platform called Discord. A lot of people are familiar with Discord from the gaming industry. So Midjourney runs on the Discord platform.
Wow, and I've already looked it up. It's cheap.
It is cheap. The biggest struggle anyone has is installing it. That's the toughest thing. it's made by coders, and it looks like it, and it
Yeah.
operates like it. But once you're installed, it's pretty easy to get running.
I'm not a gamer. My son has been for years, and you say Discord right away. I got it, and right away brings back even 5 years ago install challenges, because, like you said, Discord is kind of like Windows for gamers, and then the platform sit on top.
Exactly, precisely.
Wow. Yeah.
So these are a few more. So I really like to tell the story from an architectural perspective. So even this is a rendering, and it could be a final rendering of what would be a final product. I kind of like this architectural model style, which I think part of my objection or struggle with putting finished images out there is it's frightening to clients, because it looks like it's all done, all the decisions are made. Anything I do from now on is going to cost me more money. So I like to pull it back a little bit and really soften it. Even this is a bit stark for them, but making it an architectural model indicates that we're just working through the details, and we haven't made any full decisions yet. So that's kind of my argument. The reason I would do something in this way rather than all finished images.
And once again, that looks like
go ahead.
The blend between the wireframe and the finished.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This one has another one that has some architectural graphics elements, but then some more realistic looking renderings. I really like these blended images. They to me they shortcut and tell the story. This is the process that you're going to go through in a single image.
Mm-hmm. And is the process speedier than if you were doing an actual rendering?
Yeah, these each one of these images, just based on a prompt, take maybe 30 to 60 seconds.
Holy smokes.
And so if I had to model that image and then render it, it's weeks.
Right.
So wow. And that's really the compelling thing about AI, is that we can come to those decision points much more rapidly. I still have to model it and run it through my process and come up with drawings, but I can get to a point to say, what do you think about this? And get the reaction and say, oh, yeah, it's nice, but I don't like that part of it. And then you can kind of massage it from there. But we can rapidly come up with easily 5 or 6 concepts that show them, here are the options that respond to your program. And then use that as the inspiration to actually create the model. And AI is then or AI is being embedded into everything, including my BIM software. So now we can actually do very rudimentary modeling within BIM, and then have AI render that to a photorealistic state. So now you've got Midjourney does a really great job, but you don't have a lot of control over the geometry. It's just it gives you what it gives you. You can ask for dimensions, and I think it does a decent job of interpreting that, but you're never going to hit to the inch the dimensions of a room.
But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. I just saw on the left upper corner, there's something that relates to an interiors mood board. And then I'm sorry, Steve, I interrupted you. I didn't know what your next question was.
Just a comment how you can subscribe to different stock photo plans like Adobe and all of that. And those cost way more than this. And if you just need a dog in a canoe, and for whatever, you got it there. Just, and there it is. And I'm sure you could input a photo of a dog, the one you want in the canoe, and it could do it for you.
Yeah, they're all getting much better at taking existing images and blending them into the AI universe.
Yeah. Yeah, my friend did it. My friend did it recently for headshots, just for fun. But it's pictures of him, on a motorcycle, pictures of him driving a Lamborghini on a G6 jet, just like chilling back. And all he did was take like 5 pictures of himself, random on the phone. Wasn't even worried what he looked like, and it manipulated it the way it needed to, like crazy.
It really is amazing.
Yeah.
But AI is not all about just photorealistic images. Although here's one that is trying to illustrate entertaining at your house for the holidays, and so this is just putting a spread on the table. But you can also do very very rich watercolor style, marker style renderings. I really like these because this is softer.
Yeah.
We're not really committing to a finish necessarily. This is just telling the story.
I totally get what you're saying, because if a client sees it in a finished photograph, if you will, it's almost kind of scary, and they're thinking, no, wait, no, that's not, no, maybe I want to change this. With the others, the watercolor version, slight wireframe, it's a work in progress kind of feel.
Exactly. And then some of these I attended one of the best experiences of my life. I attended a graphic workshop just at the tail end of my architectural training, the Mike Lynn graphics workshop in Manhattan, Kansas. And so I actually used his kind of his prompts, using the Mike Lynn Be Loose style, and that's how these were generated. So you can instruct AI to kind of mimic, Chat GPT. You can say, give this to me in the voice of Homer Simpson, and you'll get a script that sounds like Homer Simpson was speaking it. And same thing with Midjourney. You can give it a little inspiration of what your ultimate goal is, and it'll do its best, and it does a pretty good job of matching up those requests.
One word, no.
Exactly.
Like it's mind blowing. And even that style that you just showed us, that almost looks like a blend between watercolor, pen, and a photograph. If you put morphed them all together.
Right.
It's beautiful.
What a gift for our clients, Mark.
For sure. They love it. And I'm a big fan. One of the things I do with my clients is I give them art tools. So the same tools that I use to create their designs, I learned it when I was working for a design build company, and the owner of the company would be working feverishly away, and the client would grab the pen from him. It was like gagging him. He couldn't do anything because he'd been relieved of his design tools. And I think it also reinforces, it's often, my son is going, or my daughter is going to, she's in drafting class. And so there's this kind of equivalence of architect versus I've got people that know how to do that. So I like to put the tools in their hands. It helps them communicate, but it also shows a little bit about this is not as easy as it looks.
Unbelievable.
And I think the same is true with AI.
Rebecca, seeing all of this, does that sway you a little bit more into the have you crossed the bridge slightly to play a little bit with this?
I'm definitely excited, but I'm gonna have Mark hold my hand through the whole process.
Right? I'm happy to do it.
Crazy. It is. All of this is great, but when you showed the food on the table and the spread, I looked at that and I'm like, whoa, okay, that's generated. It's just, and even this, it just, I knew it was out there and I knew it was good. I didn't realize it was that good. And then again, snap your finger, it's rendered.
Yeah. And just thinking of the effort to do that the traditional way, hiring a photographer, staging, lighting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Days.
Yeah. Unreal. We are just about out of time. I can't artificially generate any more today. So Rebecca, for you and design, how do we contact you? How do we reach out? And thanks for looping Mark in today. So interesting.
Oh, sure. My phone number, call me 847-337-0526. I would love to chat and learn about your design needs, or find me on my website, take a look at my work, gogodesigngroup.com.
Awesome. And Mark, can you share how we connect with you?
Absolutely. You can find me on my website, which is mebarchitect.com. And all the social media outlets out there. I'm specifically working on my YouTube channel now, so that should be seeing fresh content very soon.
Well, when we check out your social, we're going to know where the photos came from.
Fantastic.
But that means that you can generate more content faster, and that's all good. Thank you both so much for being here today. Very interesting. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.